Commander Park stood frozen at the huge window of Lunar Base Alpha, his breath caught in his throat. Just moments ago, Earth had hung alone in the blackness. Now hundreds of alien ships had appeared from nowhere, surrounding the blue planet in a perfect sphere. The vessels were unlike anything humans had built, crystalline structures that caught the sunlight and broke it into rainbow patterns across their surfaces. "Sir," Officer Kim's voice broke through his stunned silence. She approached with a tablet in hand, her steps quick but controlled. "We're getting reports from Earth. The aliens have disabled all our satellites. Global communications are failing." Park turned from the window. In the control room behind him, 24 personnel worked frantically at their stations. Screens showed cascading system failures as Earth's orbital network went dark. "How many ships?" Park asked. "We count 347 vessels of varying sizes," Kim replied, "the largest approximately 3 kilometers in length." A technician called out from across the room. "Commander, they're broadcasting on all frequencies." "Put it on the main screen," Park ordered. The central display flickered, and Park felt a chill run through him as an alien face filled the screen. The creature had scaled, greenish-gray skin with 4 eyes positioned in a diamond pattern. Its mouth was lipless, revealing rows of small, sharp teeth when it spoke. "People of Earth," the alien said in perfect English, "I am High Commander Vex of the Galactic Concord Enforcement Fleet. After lengthy deliberation, the Concord has deemed your species too unpredictable and dangerous for inclusion in interstellar society. This blockade will remain until your civilization demonstrates compliance with Concord directives." A murmur ran through the control room. Park stepped closer to the screen. "What directives?" he demanded. "We've had no contact with your Concord. We didn't even know you existed until now." The alien's 4 eyes blinked in sequence. "Your ignorance is noted but irrelevant. Your species has been under observation for centuries. Recent technological developments have accelerated our timetable for intervention." The alien disappeared from the screen, replaced by a Concord symbol, a spiral galaxy within a hexagon. "They've cut the transmission," Officer Kim said. Park turned to his communications officer. "Get me a direct line to Pacific Command." "I'm trying, sir, but most channels to Earth are blocked. The aliens are jamming everything." Officer Kim handed Park her tablet. "We're getting fragmented news feeds before they go dark. Look." Park scrolled through images from Earth's major cities. In Seoul, thousands of people stood in streets and on rooftops, looking up at the strange lights in the sky. Similar scenes played out in Tokyo, New York, Lagos, and Rio de Janeiro. Then, one by one, the feeds went black. "The lunar surface telescopes still work," said the science officer. "We can see what's happening, even if we can't communicate easily." Park ordered the telescopes trained on Earth. The main screen showed real-time images of the planet, now encircled by the alien fleet. Smaller ships had descended into low orbit, positioning themselves above major cities and military installations. "They've started landing smaller craft near government centers," Kim reported. "No weapons fired yet, but they're clearly positioning for potential strikes." Park's secure phone buzzed, one of the few technologies still working thanks to the lunar base's hardened communications array. The caller ID showed Pacific Deep Command. "This is Park," he answered. "Commander," came Director Lee's voice, distorted but understandable. "I assume you're seeing what we're seeing." "Yes, sir. Complete blockade. Communications nearly all down. They've made contact." "We're meeting now in the war room," Lee said. "Switch to encryption protocol Delta 9. Park entered a code on his phone, and the line gave a confirming beep. "Commander, listen carefully," Lee continued, his voice grave. "The aliens mentioned our recent technological developments. They mean the Prometheus project." Park glanced around to ensure no one was within earshot. The Prometheus project was Earth's top-secret warp drive program, known only to a handful of military leaders and scientists. 3 weeks ago, we achieved our first successful micro-jump, Lee explained. A test vessel moved 5 kilometers instantly. No acceleration, no conventional propulsion. True space-folding technology. You think they detected the test? Park asked. I know they did. Our sensors picked up unusual energy readings during the experiment. We thought it was feedback from the drive. Lee paused. Now we know. They were scanning us. But how could they know what the readings meant? Because they've been watching us. Park. Probably since we split the atom. Maybe longer. Lee's voice hardened. Our new warp drive frightened them. It uses principles their science might not understand. That makes us unpredictable. Park considered this. What are your orders, sir? For now, maintain observation. Record everything. We need to know their capabilities. And Earth's response. That's being decided now. But you should know. Lee hesitated. The Prometheus project wasn't our only secret. The line went silent for several seconds. Director. Park prompted. Check your auxiliary terminal. I sent you encrypted coordinates. Use your personal command code. Park moved to a small terminal at the side of the room and entered his 16-digit authorization. The screen displayed a string of numbers, coordinates in the outer solar system. What am I looking at? Park asked. Insurance, Lee replied. Initiated after the first confirmed alien signals decades ago. Find the message hidden in Lunar Base Subsystem 42B. Use access code Broken Arrow. You'll understand then. The line went dead. Park stared at the coordinates, committing them to memory before wiping the terminal. He returned to the main control room where Officer Kim waited anxiously. Orders, sir. Park looked once more at Earth, beautiful and vulnerable within its cage of alien ships. Maintain observation protocols, he said calmly, and get me access to subsystem 42B, quietly. Hours later, alone in his office, Park found the hidden message buried deep in the lunar base computer system. As he read, his eyes widened. Earth wasn't as defenseless as the Galactic Concord believed. For nearly 40 years, humanity had been preparing for this day, building ships and weapons in the shadows of the outer planets. The message ended with 5 simple words that made Park's pulse quicken. The fleet awaits your command. Captain Sung watched his breath turn to fog in the cold air of the bridge. The EFS Thunderbolt hummed gently around him, its systems running in stealth mode. Through the main viewport, he could see only darkness and ice, the thick frozen ceiling of their hidden base beneath Europa's surface. 31 warships, Earth's secret defense fleet, waited silently in this massive underground hangar carved into the Jovian moon's ice shell. Status report, Sung called, his voice echoing slightly in the quiet bridge. Lieutenant Nam looked up from her console. All ships report ready status, Captain. We're just waiting for the final command codes from Earth. Sung nodded and moved to the tactical display. Small blue dots represented each ship of the fleet, vessels that officially didn't exist, built in secrecy over the past 40 years. Ever since Earth's deep space listening posts had detected the first alien signals in the 1980s, a small group within the world's governments had prepared for this day. Communication from Lunar Base Alpha, announced the comms officer. It's Commander Park. Sir. The main screen activated, showing Park's tired face. Behind him, Sung could see the chaos of the lunar base's command center. Captain Sung, Park said, I've received authorization from Pacific Deep Command. The code word is Broken Arrow. The Earth Defense Council has unanimously approved Operation Breakout. Sung took a deep breath. After decades of training and preparation, it was finally happening. Understood, Commander. When? 6 hours from now. 400 Universal Time. All ships are to proceed to Earth at maximum speed and engage the blockade. Any word from the surface? How bad is it? Park's expression darkened. The aliens have landed troops in 12 major cities. They're setting up what they call compliance centers. Anyone resisting is being detained. Sung clenched his jaw. We'll be there soon. After the transmission ended, Sung called the ship to battle stations. Red lights bathed the bridge as crew members rushed to their positions. Chief Engineer Choi entered the bridge. His uniform rumpled as though he'd been sleeping in it. "So we're really doing this?" he asked, moving to his station. "Yes," Sun replied. "Alert all engineering teams. I want every ship at 100%. Choi smiled and patted his console affectionately. "They won't know what hit them. Our gravity manipulation drives will give them a nasty surprise. The Concorde relies on conventional physics. Everything we've observed shows they use standard propulsion systems. Let's hope that advantage is enough," Sung said. 30 minutes later, the captains of all 31 ships gathered via secure hologram for the final briefing. Their images stood in a circle on the Thunderbolt's bridge, some looking confident, others nervous. Captain Ryu of the EFS Valiant spoke first. "We should approach with caution. Send one ship to attempt communication before committing the whole fleet." "Disagree," countered Captain Jin of the EFS Dauntless. "We need to hit them with everything we have. The element of surprise is our only advantage against their numbers." The debate grew heated, with captains dividing between aggressive action and cautious approach. Sung listened quietly, evaluating each argument. Finally, Admiral Han's hologram raised a hand, silencing the debate. Han was the oldest among them, with gray hair and a face lined by decades of service. "We've trained for this possibility for 20 years, Han said firmly. "We all knew this day might come. The Concorde has already shown their intentions by blockading Earth and landing troops. We cannot afford hesitation." The Admiral looked at each captain in turn. "Our mission is clear. Break the blockade, secure Earth orbit, and force the Concorde to negotiate. But make no mistake, we will not surrender humanity's future without a fight." The captain stood straighter at Han's words. "Captain Sung," Han continued, "your ship has the most advanced gravity drive. You will lead the first attack group. Captains Jin, Ryu, and Kang will form your wing." Sung nodded. "Understood, Admiral." After assigning the remaining ships to their battle groups, Han ended with a simple message. "For Earth. For Earth." The captains echoed before their holograms disappeared. Sung turned to his bridge crew. "Send orders to all departments. Final battle preparations. We launch in 5 hours." The next hours passed in organized chaos as the fleet prepared. Weapons were charged, shields tested, and systems checked and rechecked. Crew members recorded final messages for loved ones on Earth, tucking the data chips into their pockets for luck. In the quiet of his ready room, Sung studied images of the alien blockade vessels. Their crystalline ships were beautiful in a strange way, with designs utterly unlike human engineering. Intelligence suggested the Concorde was an alliance of at least 7 different alien species, each contributing different technologies. How many would they be fighting? How advanced were their weapons? Despite decades of preparation, Earth knew so little about its new enemy. A knock at his door interrupted his thoughts. Lieutenant Nam entered, carrying a tablet. "Final crew reports, sir. All stations ready. And," she hesitated, "a message from your family." Sung took the tablet, nodding his thanks. On the screen was his wife's face, their young son sitting on her lap. They didn't know about his real job. No one outside the program did. To them, he was just a mining executive working in the outer solar system. "We miss you," his wife said in the recording. "Come home safe." Sung closed the tablet and returned to the bridge. At precisely 3:30 Universal Time, a message flashed on every ship's command console. "Operation VAREAKOT Kugo Environment. Go to speed. Alert all ships," Sung ordered. "Prepare for sealing retraction." Throughout the massive underground base, metal groaned as ancient machinery activated. The ice ceiling above the fleet, nearly a kilometer thick, began to split apart. Cracks spread across the surface as heated elements melted precisely calculated channels. Slowly, the ceiling retracted like a massive iris, revealing the star-filled sky above. Jupiter's enormous presence dominated the view, its swirling storms and bands of clouds visible in stunning detail. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, some watched as sunlight touched his ship for the first time. The vessel gleamed, its dark hull designed to absorb rather than reflect light, making it difficult to track visually. "All ships report ready for launch," Lieutenant Nam announced. Some took one last look around the bridge at the faces of his crew, men and women who had trained their entire careers for this moment. Navigation, plot course for Earth, maximum speed. He squared his shoulders and gave the order humanity had been preparing decades to give. Launch the fleet. High Commander Vex of the Galactic Concord stared at the sensor displays on the bridge of his flagship, the righteous mandate. For 3 days, the blockade around the primitive planet had proceeded without incident. The humans were contained, their leaders beginning to accept the inevitable terms of surrender. Everything was going according to plan. High Commander called his sensor officer. Unknown energy signatures detected near the orbit of Mars. Vex waved a clawed hand dismissively. Probably more of their primitive satellites. Disable them like the others. "Sir, these readings err." The officer stopped mid-sentence, his 4 eyes widening. "Sir, multiple vessels approaching at impossible speed." Vex turned to the main view screen just as 31 ships appeared at the edge of the blockade formation. The vessels were clearly of human design. Angular, utilitarian, lacking the elegant crystalline structures of Concord engineering. Yet something was wrong. The ships seemed to flicker, appearing and disappearing from normal space in ways that defied conventional physics. "Impossible," Vex whispered, nearly falling from his command chair as he stood too quickly. "They're using some form of space-folding technology." "Sir, they're broadcasting on all frequencies," reported the communications officer. "Let me hear it," Vex ordered. A human voice filled the bridge, speaking in calm, measured tones. "Attention Concord vessels. This is Captain Sung of the Earth Defense Fleet. Remove your blockade immediately and withdraw from Earth orbit. This is your only warning." Murmurs spread across the bridge. Earth had no defense fleet. All human space capabilities had been documented and analyzed before the blockade. These ships should not exist. "Weapons status," Vex demanded. "Charged and ready, High Commander." Vex studied the approaching fleet. Their ships were smaller than most Concord vessels, but moved with strange, unpredictable patterns. Standard targeting algorithms would struggle to lock onto vessels that blinked in and out of normal space. "Sir, waiting for your command," his weapons officer prompted. Vex considered his options. Protocol demanded communication with Concord High Command, but that would take hours. These human ships would reach the blockade in minutes. "Open fire," Vex ordered. "Target their lead vessel." The Righteous Mandate's primary weapons array unleashed a barrage of energy beams toward the human fleet. Other Concord ships quickly followed suit, filling space with deadly light. On the bridge of the ESS Thunderbolt, Captain Sung gripped his chair as the enemy weapons fire approached. "Evasive maneuvers. All ships activate gravity distortion fields," he commanded. The Thunderbolt's engines hummed as the gravity drive engaged fully. Space bent around the vessel, causing the incoming Concord fire to curve away, missing by kilometers. "Return fire," some ordered. "Target their forward vessels." The Thunderbolt's railguns launched projectiles at near-light speeds, while energy weapons targeted the Concord ship's propulsion systems. Around them, the rest of Earth's fleet engaged, each captain following the battle plan they had rehearsed countless times. The night side of Earth lit up with the exchange of weapons fire. Massive energy discharges created brief, artificial auroras in the upper atmosphere as the smaller human fleet engaged the Concord blockade. The Thunderbolt led the charge, its advanced gravity drive creating distortion fields that scattered enemy targeting systems. Standard Concord weapons, designed to hit targets moving on predictable vectors, struggled against ships that could bend space itself. "They're adjusting their targeting algorithms," reported Lieutenant Nam, as a Concord beam grazed the Thunderbolt's hull. "Shield holding at 87%. Sung nodded. Tell all ships to switch to pattern Omega-3. Don't let them predict our movements. In the control room of Lunar Base Alpha, Lieutenant Yoon coordinated the battle from afar. Her screens showed the positions of all ships, human and alien, displayed as colored dots against the black of space. EF's Dauntless, 3 Concorde ships approaching your position from Sector 7. She called into her headset. EF's Valiant, adjust course 15 degrees to target the weak point in their formation near Earth's northern hemisphere. Commander Park stood behind her, watching the battle unfold. The gravity drives are working better than we hoped, he noted. The Concorde ships can't get a solid lock on our vessels. Yes, sir, Yoon agreed. But look here, they're adapting already. Their larger ships are moving to create overlapping fields of fire. No matter how our ships maneuver, they'll pass through at least one firing solution. Park frowned. Alert Captain Sung. Tell him they need to break through before the Concorde completes their formation change. On the Thunderbolt, Sung received the warning from Lunar Base. All ships, this is Captain Sung. We need to punch through now. Converge on Sector 12. Maximum power to gravity drives. The Earth fleet responded, concentrating their attack on a single section of the Concorde blockade. 20 human ships focused their fire on 7 Concorde vessels, overwhelming their defenses. 2 Concorde ships erupted in silent explosions, creating a gap in the blockade formation. The Thunderbolt accelerated toward the opening, its gravity drive distorting space so severely that the ship appeared to stretch before snapping forward like a released rubber band. "We're through," shouted Navigator Ba, entering Earth orbit. More Earth ships followed, pushing through the gap before the Concorde could close it. But the alien fleet recovered quickly, surrounding the Earth vessels that had broken through. "EF's courage is hit," reported Officer Kang, watching as one of their ships took a direct hit to its engine section. The vessel spun out of control, secondary explosions rippling along its hull before it went dark. The battle continued for 6 brutal hours. The human fleet fought with desperate innovation, using their gravity drives in ways never tested in simulations. Ships would work in pairs, one creating massive gravity distortions while the other fired through the distortion, causing their weapons to curve around Concorde shields. Slowly, the Earth fleet carved a corridor through the blockade. More human ships broke through to Earth orbit, establishing a defensive perimeter around the planet. Concorde landing parties found themselves cut off as human vessels targeted their ground-to-orbit transports. But victory came at tremendous cost. 8 Earth vessels had been destroyed, their crews lost. 12 more suffered significant damage, limping into stable orbits with failing systems and wounded personnel. On the Thunderbolt, the mood was solemn despite their success. The bridge showed signs of battle, flickering consoles, emergency lighting, and crew members nursing injuries as they worked. "Damage report," Sung requested, wiping blood from a cut on his forehead. "Hull breaches on decks 3 and 4, sealed by emergency systems," reported Lieutenant Nam. "Gravity drive at 60% efficiency, weapons at 40%, communications array damaged but functional." Sung nodded. "And the fleet?" 23 ships operational, 8 destroyed. Nam paused, her voice tightening. "The Jakarta, Phoenix, Sentinel, Intrepid, Guardian, Courage, Defiant, and Horizon, all lost with all hands." The bridge fell silent, each officer remembering friends and colleagues aboard those vessels. The moment of reflection was broken by Officer Kang's urgent voice. "Captain, I'm intercepting Concorde communications. They're calling for reinforcements." Sung moved to Kang's station. "Can you translate? Our systems are processing their language patterns," Kang replied, adjusting controls on his console. "There, I've got it." The alien transmission played through the bridge speakers, translated into halting English by the ship's computers. "Blockade compromised. Human resistance unexpected. Request immediate reinforcement. Advanced propulsion technology detected. How long until their reinforcements arrive?" Sung asked. Kang analyzed the transmission further. based on the coordinates they transmitted and what we know of their propulsion capabilities. 3 days, maybe less if they have faster ships we haven't seen yet. Sung looked at the tactical display. Earth's remaining ships had formed a defensive sphere around the planet, while the damaged Concorde blockade regrouped. They had won the first battle, but a much larger fight was coming. "Send word to Admiral Han and all fleet captains," Sung ordered. "We have 3 days to prepare for the second wave." Captain Sung moved cautiously through the dimly lit corridors of Harmony Station. The neutral trading post orbited in the L4 Lagrange point between Earth and the Moon, technically outside both Concorde and human-controlled space. His uniform was hidden beneath civilian clothes, and 2 officers from the Thunderbolt walked beside him, similarly disguised. "Are you sure this isn't a trap?" asked Lieutenant Nam, her hand resting near her concealed weapon. "No," Sung admitted, "but the message used diplomatic codes that predate the blockade. Whoever sent it has high-level access." They reached the meeting point, a small observation lounge overlooking Earth. The room appeared empty until a figure stepped from behind a pillar. The alien stood slightly shorter than Sung, with smooth blue-gray skin and large, expressive eyes. Unlike the reptilian Concorde troops, this being had a more humanoid appearance, though with 4 arms folded carefully across its chest. "Captain Sung," the alien said in perfect English, "I am Ambassador Gam of the Valan species. Thank you for taking this risk." Sung studied the alien carefully. "You claim to have information vital to Earth's survival. I'm listening." Gam gestured to the viewport. Below them, Earth turned slowly, the Concorde blockade visible as glittering points surrounding the planet. Portions of the blockade had been disrupted by the recent battle, with Earth ships patrolling the gaps. "Not all Concorde members support this blockade," Gam explained. "The Galactic Concorde includes 23 spacefaring species across 1,200 star systems. What you're seeing is just one faction's policy." "Which faction?" Sung asked. "The Arbiters. They control the military and have dominated Concorde politics for the past century." Gam's large eyes blinked slowly. "They fear your potential. Human creativity and adaptability exceeds any species we've encountered. Your gravity manipulation technology has particularly alarmed them. It operates on principles our scientists don't fully understand." Lieutenant Nam frowned. "If the Arbiters only represent one faction, why does the entire Concorde follow their lead?" "Because many fear them, and until now, few had reason to oppose them." Gam moved closer. "But the Coalition of Free Worlds, my faction, sees potential allies in humanity. Your battle tactics were broadcast across Concorde space. You've proven you can stand against Arbiter technology." Sung crossed his arms. "Pretty words, Ambassador, but the reinforcement fleet will arrive in less than 2 days. We're outnumbered and outgunned." "Perhaps not as much as you think," Gam replied with what appeared to be a smile. "The Coalition has been mobilizing. But first, I must ask, what are your intentions toward non-combatants?" Before Sung could respond, his communication device buzzed urgently. "Excuse me," he said, stepping away to answer. "Captain, this is the Thunderbolt," came the voice of his first officer. "We've detected a distress signal from a Concorde civilian habitat near Mars. They're reporting catastrophic life support failure. 3,000 civilians at risk." Sung looked at Gam, who had clearly overheard. The alien's expression was unreadable. "How long do they have?" Sung asked. 4 hours at most. No Concorde military vessels are in range to help." Sung made his decision instantly. Divert the Thunderbolt and the Valiant to assist. Maximum speed. "Sir, those are 2 of our most powerful ships. If this is a trap, then we'll deal with it," Sung interrupted. "These are civilians. Move now." He ended the transmission and turned back to Gam. "You asked about our intentions toward non-combatants. Does that answer your question?" Gam's 4 arms unfolded in what seemed to be a gesture of respect. "It does." 6 hours later, the Concorde Ruling Council gathered in emergency session. The meeting chamber on the Concord capital world of Nexus was filled with representatives from all 23 member species. At the center, High Arbiter Zorn addressed the assembly, his reptilian features set in a grim expression. "The human resistance continues," Zorn stated. "Our blockade has been compromised. The reinforcement fleet will arrive in 30 hours to restore order." Councillor Ta, a representative of the Valan species, rose from her seat. Unlike most council sessions, she carried a data device openly. "Before we commit more forces, the council should review new evidence," Ta said firmly. "I have footage from the Ganter habitat incident." Despite objections from the arbiters, the council voted to view the recording. The chamber darkened as a holographic display activated, showing the Ganter habitat, a massive civilian station housing 3,000 Concord citizens from various species. Emergency lights flashed as the habitat vented atmosphere from multiple breaches. Then, to the council's surprise, 2 human warships appeared, the same vessels that had fought fiercely against Concord forces just days earlier. Instead of attacking, the ships maneuvered alongside the failing habitat. The recording showed human rescue teams in spacesuits entering the habitat, evacuating civilians, and making emergency repairs. "These humans risked their lives for our people," Councillor Ta said as the recording ended. "They diverted critical military assets during an active conflict to save Concord civilians. This doesn't match our assessment of them as violent primitives." Murmurs spread through the council chamber. High Arbiter Zorn slammed his ceremonial staff for silence. "A single act of calculation," Zorn hissed. "They seek to divide us. The humans remain dangerous and unpredictable. Their technology threatens Concord's stability." But the seed of doubt had been planted. Other councillors began to speak. "If humans are so dangerous, how did they develop space-folding technology that our scientists can't explain?" asked the Meridan representative. "And why did the arbiters authorize a blockade without council approval?" added another. The political fracture widened as more species questioned the blockade. What had begun as a unified action against Earth was rapidly becoming a Concord civil crisis. Back near Earth, Captain Sung received Ambassador Gam's next transmission aboard the Thunderbolt. "Captain, the council is divided. The arbiters still command the reinforcement fleet, but 17 Concord member species have now voiced opposition to the blockade. Will that stop the attack?" Sung asked. "No," Gam replied grimly, "but it has allowed the coalition to act. 6 vessels from my faction are en route to your position. We cannot openly oppose the arbiters yet, but we can provide unofficial assistance." Sung studied the tactical display showing the approaching Concord reinforcement fleet. 60 warships, each larger and more powerful than those in the initial blockade. 6 ships won't make much difference against that, he noted. "Perhaps not," Gam agreed. "But each ship carries technical advisors familiar with arbiter systems, and more importantly, recognition codes that will identify your vessels as friendly to coalition forces within the main fleet." Sung's eyes widened as he understood the implication. The reinforcement fleet isn't unified either. "Precisely. Approximately 1/3 of those vessels have crews sympathetic to the coalition. They won't fire on ships broadcasting our recognition codes." For the first time since the blockade began, Sung felt a flicker of hope. "When can your ships rendezvous with our fleet?" 12 hours, Gam replied, "just before the main Concord force arrives." The next day, as the Concord reinforcement fleet approached Earth, a remarkable sight unfolded. 23 surviving Earth warships formed a defensive line, joined by 6 vessels of clearly alien design. The coalition ships were elegant, with flowing organic lines unlike the crystalline arbiter vessels or the utilitarian human ships. On the bridge of the Thunderbolt, now serving as the fleet flagship, Captain Sung welcomed Ambassador Gam and the coalition technical advisors. The aliens moved quickly to integrate their systems with human technology, creating a unified command network. "Concord reinforcement fleet will arrive in 30 minutes, announced Lieutenant Nam. Sung looked at the combined human coalition forces assembled on his tactical display. Against 60 Arbiter warships, their chances remained slim. But for the first time, humanity wasn't facing the stars alone. All ships assume battle formation, Sung ordered, and broadcast coalition recognition codes on all frequencies. As Earth's first impromptu alliance prepared for battle, the planet below watched in anxious anticipation, unaware that the conflict had grown far beyond their world, becoming the spark for a transformation of galactic politics that would echo across the Concord for centuries to come. Admiral Hand stood on the bridge of the EFSS Defiance, watching the tactical display with calm eyes. The combined human coalition fleet gathered in Earth orbit, 36 surviving Earth vessels alongside 22 ships from rebellious Concord factions. The ships varied greatly in design, from the utilitarian human warships to the elegant organic curves of the coalition vessels. Against this improvised alliance, the main Concord Armada had arrived, 140 warships arranged in perfect formation, their crystalline hulls gleaming in the sunlight. "All captains report ready, Admiral," said Lieutenant Kang, his voice steady despite the overwhelming odds they faced. Han nodded and activated the fleet-wide communication channel. The faces of Earth and Coalition captains appeared on screens around the bridge. "Leaders of the combined fleet," Han began, "the force arrayed against us is formidable. They outnumber us 3-1. Their ships are larger, their weapons more powerful." The Admiral paused, looking at each captain in turn. "But remember this, we don't need to win. We just need to prove we cannot be conquered. If we can hold our position and inflict enough damage, the Concord must reconsider. Earth has never surrendered to invaders. Today will be no exception." Captain Sung of the Thunderbolt spoke up. "The coalition recognition codes are active. According to Ambassador Gam, approximately 40 Concord ships may hesitate to engage us directly." "Good," Han replied. "Position your ships to exploit any hesitation. And remember, protect Earth at all costs." The transmission ended, and Han turned to his tactical officer. "Begin Operation Sunburst." Across the combined fleet, gravity drives powered up. Unlike conventional engines that pushed against space, these drives bent space itself, creating distortions that allowed for impossible maneuvers. The Concord fleet launched the first attack, firing massive energy beams toward Earth. The combined fleet moved to intercept, using gravity distortions to curve the beams away from the planet. The battle began in earnest near the moon, its gray surface occasionally illuminated by weapons fire. Human ingenuity complemented alien technology in ways neither side had imagined possible. Earth ships performed maneuvers considered impossible, while their alien allies provided technological advantages humans hadn't yet developed. On the Defiance, Admiral Han directed the battle with the precision of a conductor leading an orchestra. Group 3, create gravity well in Sector 7. Group 2, use the distortion to flank the Arbiter heavy cruisers. The Earth ships of Group 3 activated their gravity drives at maximum power, creating a massive distortion in space. The Coalition ships of Group 2 used this distortion to slingshot around, appearing behind the Concord formation and striking before they could react. Meanwhile, aboard Lunar Base Alpha, Commander Park prepared for a different kind of mission. He stood in the hangar bay with 5 volunteer crew members and Ambassador Gam. "The plan is simple but dangerous," Park explained. "Ambassador Gam's shuttle can approach the Concord flagship using diplomatic codes. Once aboard, we access their communication array and broadcast directly to every ship in the Concord fleet." Lieutenant Yoon checked her equipment. "What exactly are we broadcasting?" Park gestured to a small data device. "The truth about Earth. Unfiltered, unedited footage of human civilization. Our art, our music, our diversity, our potential. Everything the Arbiters have hidden from the rest of the Concord." Ambassador Gam nodded. "The Arbiters fear what they don't understand. Most Concord species have never seen true human culture, only military assessments and threat analyses." "And if we're captured?" asked one of the volunteers. "Then the rest of the plan proceeds without us," Park replied simply. As the small team boarded the diplomatic shuttle, the space battle intensified. Earth ships used their gravity drives in increasingly creative ways, creating momentary wormholes that allowed missiles to appear inside Concorde shield perimeters, or generating gravity lenses that focused their weapon beams to cut through enemy hulls. The coalition ships added their own unique technologies, including energy fields that temporarily disabled arbiter targeting systems and communication scramblers that broke the Concorde command structure. But despite these advantages, the sheer number of enemy ships began to tell. One by one, human and coalition vessels took critical damage. The EF's Valiant exploded after taking multiple direct hits. The coalition cruiser Dawnseeker lost propulsion and drifted helplessly. Ambassador Gam's shuttle slipped through the chaos of battle, approaching the massive Concorde flagship, a crystalline structure 5 kilometers long, shaped like a perfect dodecahedron. Using valid diplomatic codes, they docked in a secondary hangar bay. "Security will discover us quickly," Gam warned as they exited the shuttle. "We must reach the communications center within 15 minutes. Park nodded and signaled his team forward. Moving through the alien corridors, they encountered surprisingly little resistance. Most of the crew was focused on the battle. When they reached the communications center, 2 arbiter guards blocked their path. Before the aliens could react, Park and Lieutenant Yoon stunned them with specially modified weapons. "Quickly," Park ordered as they entered the center. The human technicians worked with Gam to override the systems while Park kept watch. "We're in," announced Yoon after tense minutes of work, broadcasting on all Concorde frequencies. Across the Concorde fleet, something unprecedented happened. On every ship, view screens activated without command. Confused alien crews watched as images of Earth appeared. Children playing in parks, scientists working in laboratories, artists creating in studios. They saw the Great Wall of China, the pyramids of Egypt, the towering skyscrapers of modern cities. They heard Mozart and Beatles music, saw ballet dancers and martial artists. The broadcast showed Earth's diverse ecosystems, rainforests, coral reefs, mountains, and deserts. It displayed humanity's technological achievements alongside their art and culture. Most powerfully, it showed humans helping each other after disasters, working together despite differences, and reaching out to the stars with hope rather than conquest. In the Concorde flagship's command center, Supreme Commander Arxis watched the transmission with growing unease. "Cut this broadcast immediately," he ordered. "We cannot." "Supreme Commander," replied his communications officer. "The override uses high-level diplomatic protocols." The battle continued for 18 brutal hours. Both sides suffered heavy losses. 23 Earth ships destroyed or disabled. 31 coalition vessels lost. But the Concorde Armada had lost 67 ships, a shocking number for what should have been a simple operation. More concerning to the arbiters, almost 40 Concorde ships had stopped firing entirely after receiving the broadcast, their captains openly questioning orders. On the bridge of the Defiance, Admiral Han received an unexpected message. "Sir," called Lieutenant Kang, "the Concorde flagship is hailing us directly." Han straightened his uniform. On screen, Supreme Commander Arxis appeared, his reptilian features set in a stiff expression. "Admiral Han of Earth," he began formally. "After consultation with the Concorde High Council, we have reassessed the human situation." Han kept his face carefully neutral. "Go on. A ceasefire will commence immediately. The blockade will be lifted. Representatives from Earth will be invited to present their case to the full Concorde Assembly." "And our coalition allies?" Han asked. Arxis paused before answering. "Their actions will be reviewed by the Assembly as well." 3 months later, in the Great Assembly Hall on the Concorde capital world, Earth representatives took their seats for the first time. The massive chamber held delegates from all 23 member species, with humans now recognized as the 24th. Director Lee led the Earth delegation, with Admiral Han, Captain Sung, and Commander Park accompanying him. After weeks of negotiation, The Concord had accepted Earth as a provisional member, with full status to be granted after a 5-year observation period. The Arbiter faction had lost considerable influence, with many species now aligning with the coalition of free worlds. A new balance of power was emerging in galactic politics, one in which humanity would play a significant role. As the formal proceedings began, Captain Sung slipped away to a quiet observation deck. Through the viewport, he could see Earth vessels moving among Concord ships in joint patrol exercises. Human and alien crews were beginning cautious exchange programs. Knowledge sharing had begun in limited form, with both sides careful about what technologies they revealed. Ambassador Gam joined him at the viewport. "Your people have changed the Concord forever," the alien said quietly. "For the better, I believe." Sung nodded. "We have much to learn from each other, and much to fear from each other," Gam added. "But perhaps that balance of hope and caution is the foundation of true peace." As they watched, a new Earth vessel emerged from a nearby space dock, the first ship built with combined human and Concord technology. Its hull bore both Earth and Concord insignias, a visual symbol of the new order taking shape. A new chapter had begun, not just for humanity, but for all species in the galaxy.